Whereas traditional histories of the Revolutionary War examine the economics, logistics, operations, and politics of war and or sociology of war and combat, some recent studies look at the war's emotional impact on combatants and civilians. Now, cruelty and suffering might seem like obvious topics for research in the history of war, but in fact, these studies represent a relatively new field of investigation. Such studies do in book form what the battle scenes in Saving Private Ryan did in movie form. They try to place the readers on location, allowing them to experience the emotional intensity of the war. So more traditional military histories might cover the same ground, but they do not focus on individuals. Okay? They might inform the reader that the U.S. lost over 1,000 casualties at the Battle of Camden to convey how costly that manpower loss was to the Army's operations. But they do not convey to readers these dead and wounded soldiers' suffering. Also, traditional histories might tell readers about the starving at Valley Forge to convey how um, how crippling supply shortages were for the Army's operations and long-term plans. But they do not try to convey to readers how it felt to starve. So these newer studies or this new field of study tries to do that for readers. It's unclear, however, what these emotional studies aim to add to the existing understanding of the Revolutionary War. Okay, so is their function simply to allow readers to experience the war, or does this emotional accounting aim to offer a kind of analysis of the war as well? The question is whether such experiential accounts of war, these kind of blurred, chaotic snapshots of war, and like those combat scenes in Saving Private Ryan, can such experiential accounts of the war even try to provide analysis of the war's logistics, operations, politics, social organization, or economics? And perhaps their aim is not to analyze the war, but to reframe it, showing the on-the-ground realities of war might be a purposeful, although unstated, challenge to the established coherent narrative of the American Revolution as a conflict between societies. Okay, so these experiential, emotional accounts might be a conscious but unstated attempt to create a narrative about individuals rather than about nations, maybe. Regardless, it is curious that such histories expose readers only to the harsh, violent, and dispiriting experiences of the Revolutionary War. Okay, so the pain, the terror, um, the, the the suffering and the losses of war. They're habitually silent on other experiences of war, pleasurable experiences of war, like joking around with your comrades in the camps, carousing on the town, romantic adventures with young women on the campaign, um, the strong friendships that soldiers form on campaign, how tasty army food is to hungry and exhausted soldiers, the pleasure of sleep, and the sense of honor that soldiers can experience about their service to their family, community, or nation. Um, on the other hand, it is easy to understand why historians are interested only in some experiences of war, again, the harsh ones, but not in these other experiences. Um, because most scholars are not themselves combat veterans, the violent and bloody aspects of war are naturally more captivating for them because they're more foreign to them. Whereas those other aspects of war are, food, sleep, friendships, etc., love. Um, these other aspects of war are mundane, relatively familiar, and therefore they're less intriguing to scholars. Then again, this approach to war reporting might be a purposeful effort to show readers war in its full ugliness, reflecting scholarly disgust with war and violence. And this might explain why such sorrowful accounts of war are usually about what's called good wars, wars that the public generally sees as heroic and inspirational, such as the Revolutionary War, the US Civil War, and World War II, as if to offer a corrective to the positive national narrative that frames these wars in the popular culture.